Welcome everyone to this week's video. Today we are on Fish Friday number 280 and we have a good one for you today. Today's fish is one of the, I don't want to say the least known minnows of the North America, but it is a minnow that I do believe gets as much notoriety as it should. I feel like more people should know about this fish. So today's fish that we're going to be talking about is bam, the Pugnose minnow. Now, the Pugnose minnow, or scientific name Opsopoetus ameliae, again, that's Opsopoetus ameliae. It is part of the family Cyprinidae, which is, as many of you know, the family of New World minnows and carps. We've talked about cyprinids in the past, as expected. It's the largest family of freshwater fishes in the world, containing all your minnows, shiners, daces, and carp. Again, it was recently split. We've talked about that. But in my opinion, the Pugnose minnow actually really stands out from this group just because of its extreme specializations that we're going to be talking about. Now, the Pugnose minnow is native to central and eastern United States, primarily within the Mississippi River Basin. While its range does extend from the Great Lakes south to the Gulf Coastal Plain, extremely large range, and I will go ahead and say this fish is not necessarily in danger of any being endangered. It's listed by the IUCN as least concern. It is uncommon in parts of its range or declining due to a variety of factors such as stream modification, aquatic vegetation reduction, things like that. Another big issue is that even in its past, the Pugnose minnow was always one of those widespread fishes that its populations were very patchy and localized. So even within the same river system, you'll have a population that's, super abundant. When you find this fish, more often than not, is one of the most abundant fish in the area, but you might go many miles before you actually find any more of that fish. It's a very sort of odd distribution and life cycle. In terms of habitat, you're going to find this. I should also mention it was very difficult for me to find any pictures, so I did go to inaturalist.com.org, and I'm going to be using their pictures today. But they are pretty good because these species inhabit slow-moving, still freshwater environments. So this is a great example. Backwaters of river, oxbows, ponds, and quiet creeks. This is exactly the type of habitat, this little cypress shallow pond / wetland, where this fish would love to be. Maybe this is an oxbow, slough, just really there. And if I was sampling for the Pugnose minnow, I would actually, based on what I see, I'd go behind those trees to that standing vegetation, because this fish is very strongly associated with dense surface and emergent vegetation, because it spends most of its time right at the water surface, which will become apparent why in very shortly. Now, this is a very small fish. According to what I saw, they get up to 6 centimeters, which is 2.4 inches. I don't know if I've ever seen one above 2 inches, so that one actually kind of surprised me. I did not realize it got that large, and I'm using large as a relative term, obviously. I should probably exit out of this picture so that you can see this. But it's a very, very small fish. It is very slender, laterally compressed. Like most minnows, it's got this very dense and thick lateral stripe, kind of silvery olive to the above to very silvery on the bottom, very pale. The line does go through the eye. You can see it here. It has this herringbone pattern along the top. So if you look above that lateral stripe, you'll see how the scales look like they're outlined in that sort of crosshatch pattern. That is what's called the herringbone pattern. And something that I've always used is if you look below, it seems like the herringbone pattern just goes about a scale and a half below that lateral stripe. I actually like that characteristic, so it's really very, very neat. Something else that I have used in the past I don't love is if you look at the dorsal fin here, you can see how it goes spot, gap, spot. And then on the caudal fin, it goes, clear, spot, clear. As you know, I'm not the most favored on coloration, so I don't use that, but the easiest way to tell is the fact that this fish looks like it rammed its nose into a glass wall, and it's a pugnose. I should also mention that the coloration of the lips is actually very often used in fisheries, especially in minnow, but this is such a defining characteristic that quite honestly, the pictures don't do it justice. It literally does look, if you took a dog's pugnose and changed it to a fish, that's exactly what it looks like. So as soon as you see it, you'll never mistake this fish again. It is so distinctive and so unique. Very, very deal. And the reason for this is because, we'll go ahead and talk about this, is that this fish is a surface feeding specialist. It spends almost all of its time along the surface of the water, just beneath the films, feeding on insect larvae, small aquatic invertebrates, but they they are right on that surface water. I rarely see them like 2 to 3 inches down. And that's kind of interesting because it's most minnows will form schools that stay in that midwater section, so they're swimming through. This species just kind of forms schools that all stay along the surface of the water, and they just remain motionless, just waiting for something to land on the water. That's why it's kind of a unique fish in the fact that it is so surface water specific that even in its schools, they're all just sitting there. So if you see them, they'll actually just all be sitting there waiting on something to land in the water. Really, really neat fish. And really, really interesting behavior. Now, in terms of reproduction, they do spawn somewhere between the late spring and early summer. They don't really build nests or guard. There seems to be, I've seen some people say that they don't build nests or really even guard eggs. I've also seen a lot of stuff saying that the males will actually dig some sort of like cavity nest. They actually do guard that nest. And I'm kind of leaning more towards the males actually guarding, because I do believe this fish exhibits nuptial tubercles. I've never had an opportunity to collect them, and I am also guilty of this. I have also not fully looked into this, and I often overlook this fish when I'm doing side research and side looking. Actually, if need to relook at that. That almost looks like nuptial tubercles there. See if we can also find them. Yeah, I don't know. But I would imagine that this fish does exhibit nuptial tubercles, which are often used for breeding disputes and for guarding. So I'm betting there's some sort of there. So I can't really answer on the terms of their reproduction, but I do imagine they um, do some sort of at least um, nesting habitation, nesting defensive measures. Um, Sorry, I couldn't really answer that one. Now, the Pugnose minnow, in terms of the aquarium, it's not necessarily too popular in the aquarium trade, sadly. It's rarely kept, but it's occasionally available, usually around $5 per fish, which is absolutely insane to me. Um, I definitely think this would be an interesting fish, but might be a little difficult to um, sort of balance the fact that they are a schooling fish, but they need so much surface water availability. Um, Usually, when they are for sale, that's from what I have seen, it's more for educational thing rather than ornamental. So yeah, it's truly a bizarre fish, but one of the reasons why I picked this fish and why I do think it's so unique, which is the interesting fact we're going to end a video on, is that even though this fish is part of the North American, like, large river minnows and carps and all the rest of the minnows, this Pugnose minnow to me is very much the North American swordtail niche. So a niche in an environmental or ecological setting is, you have like top water minnows, mid water minnows, and then you have all the things that are associated there. Niche is actually a very, very fascinating subject that we should probably discuss, but this niche, like, there's a lot of top water feeding fish that love top water stuff, but not as many of them I feel are as purely focused on surface water like the Pugnose. So to me, it operates more like the South American swordtails or those tropical top minnows, with how specialized its feeding behavior it is and how awkward its mouth is, but that is because it is so surface water feeding. That it's really interesting to me that if you think about it and look at it and look at the life history of this fish, to me it operates more like a swordtail from South America than the rest of the minnows of North America. Just an interesting fact. You guys may not find that interesting, but I definitely do. But thank you guys so much again. I really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you do. I'd really appreciate it. Hope to see you again. If you like to support the channel, please click the link down below. It is by no means expected, but very much appreciated. Regardless, take care of yourselves, take care of your loved ones, and